Be it white, dark, or milk, we love it.
Chocolate? Did you say chocolate?
Once used as a form of currency, drunk as a bitter, frothy liquid flavored with chili and vanilla,
Chocolate? Chocolate! Chocolate!
today you are probably more familiar with this processed form of the food of the gods. So how did this turn into this? Hey everyone, my name is Gabby Winkler and this is Eatymology, a series about the quirky history of the most ordinary culinary ingredients. And today we are going to talk about the bittersweet history of chocolate.
Chocolate? Chocolate! Chocolate!
Actually, the real name of chocolate is cacao and not cocoa. The confusion happened in the 18th century when the printers of Johnson Dictionary mixed up cacao bean with the cocoa nut. Today, cacao refers to the pod and the beans from the plant, and the term cocoa is used when the beans have been roasted and turned into nibs and powder. Cacao grows on a tree in the tropical rainforest. Theobroma cacao, which translates to fruit of the gods, is a small evergreen tree from the Malvaceae or mallow plant family. Other well-known members of this plant family include okra, cotton, and durian. Chocolate's 4,000-year history began in ancient Mesoamerica. Although the exact origins of the cacao plant are lost in time, we know for sure that the cacao tree is native to the Americas. It is thought that the Olmecs, the first major Mesoamerican civilization, used cacao. There is no written history of the Olmecs, but traces of cacao have been found on Olmec pots and vessels. Cacao played a very important role in the Maya and the Aztec civilizations. Cacao beans were stored in huge quantities, used to pay salaries, and consumed in the royal court. Drinks made from cacao beans were used in rituals of birth, marriage, and death. It was a drink enjoyed strictly by the nobility, and it was believed to have magical and divine powers. The king, the court, the nobles, the warriors could drink it, but for the others, especially for women, it was forbidden. If you open up the pod, it doesn't really look like chocolate. The seeds are inside this gooey pulp. So how do you turn this mush into chocolate? Well, it's a rather complicated process. First, you need to ferment the beans till the pulp slowly turns into liquid and runs off as alcohol. After, the beans are dried and roasted. Then you remove the papery shell and grind it. And voila, you have pure chocolate. But this is still not the stuff that we love today. The chocolate the Mayans and the Aztecs drank was totally different from the drinking chocolate we consume nowadays. It was bitter, often served cold and sometimes eaten as gruel or porridge, mixed with chili, achiote, vanilla, or other flours.
Chili pepper and hot chocolate?
Imagine chocolate as a sort of ancient champagne. A must-have for every celebration. It was pretty much an elite drink. Another important thing was the froth. The froth was like bubbles in champagne. Who wants to drink flat champagne? Good drinking chocolate was nothing without the highly valued froth. The native way of making that froth was to pour the liquid from a great height, from one vase to another. Like many other ingredients, chocolate also became known in Europe after some gold-seeking colonizers returned from their expeditions from the New World. There are actually different theories how chocolate ended up in Europe. Legend has it that the Aztec king Moctezuma II welcomed the Spanish with a banquet that included drinking chocolate. Others say the Spanish took some Mayan nobles to the court of Prince Philip of Spain, who was more concerned about his visitors' nakedness than their gifts. Anyways, the Mayans made some drinking chocolate for him, and that's the first time when chocolate was mentioned in Europe. Regardless of which theory is true, it was the Spanish who gave the name chocolate to the drink, a word derived from the Nahuatl
chocolate.
Did you say chocolate?
But not everyone was fond of the new drink at the beginning. According to the Italian historian Girolamo Benzoni, chocolate seemed more a drink for pigs than a drink for humanity. Although when he ran out of wine, he forced himself to drink it, and in the end concluded that it satisfies and refreshes the body. After a rocky start, chocolate quickly became a popular delicacy in Spain once they started mixing it with honey or cane sugar. Especially noble women appreciated the sweetened drink. It was believed to have various health benefits, such as being a cure for all ills and settling an upset stomach the morning after a night of heavy alcohol consumption. Many wished it was true, but it wasn't. There are some references to chocolate causing the same effect as hallucinogenic mushrooms. Bernardino de Sahagún, a Spanish Franciscan friar and a great chocolate enthusiast, wrote this in the Florentine Codex. This cacao, when much is drunk, makes one drunk, makes one dizzy, confuses one, makes one sick. Most likely his chocolate was topped up with some alcohol or other intoxicating substances. Chocolate's popularity skyrocketed when, thanks to some Jesuit influence who were involved in the European chocolate business, Pope Alexander VII declared that liquids do not break the fast. Ironically, with this act, he might have contributed to the death of one of his successors. It is believed that Pope Clement XIV met his end in 1773 by drinking poisoned hot chocolate. Even though the Pope said it had a bit more bitter taste than usual, he still drank it all and died soon afterwards. Another thing that made chocolate extremely popular in Europe was undoubtedly its reputation as an aphrodisiac. The exotic beverage was thought to enhance the pleasures of the flesh. Madame Pompadour, official chief mistress of King Louis XV, drank hot chocolate in order to appear less frigid in the eyes of her lovers. The legendary womanizer Giacomo Casanova and the infamous Marquis de Sade also drank it before lovemaking. To this day, chocolate continues to be associated with love and romance. And just think about those ads that you see on TV, where chocolate is depicted erotic and sinful.
Do you dream in chocolate? Taste the Lindor truffle, created with passion only by Lind's master chocolatiers.
The chocolate drinking habit slowly spread from continental Europe to England, when a number of chocolate houses were set up in London in the 17th century. Men gathered in these houses to discuss politics and the affairs of the day, to gamble and to indulge in other earthly pleasures. These chocolate houses were the early versions of modern gentlemen's clubs, which are frequently visited by the English aristocracy and still have a strict and controversial no-woman policy up to date. At the end of the 18th century, chocolate was still a heavy liquid, loaded with sugar, drunk only by the elite. With the extravagant drinking vessels came along. In France, they used slender spouted vessels called chocolatiers with molinets in order to keep the drink well blended and frothy. In Latin America, they used decorated coconut shells. The Spanish invented the manzarina to prevent Spanish nobles from spilling chocolate beverages on themselves. Wealthy and high-ranking members of society consumed the exotic and decadent drink at parties, often while dancing. Later, the French stole the idea and named their own version das trembleuses. So when did chocolate become an everyday commodity from a luxurious drink? The turning point was when in 1828 a Dutch chemist, Conrad Johannes van Houten, developed the process for creating a powder by separating cacao from cocoa butter. This powder could later be mixed into a drinkable solution, and this meant chocolate was finally ready to be mass-produced. The bar itself, however, was not invented until 1847, when the British confectioner Joseph Fry learned how to add the cocoa butter back into the mixture and created the first moldable chocolate bars. This is considered to be the first chocolate bar designed for eating rather than drinking. By the second half of the 19th century, Fry & Sons was the largest chocolate manufacturer company in the world. Other big chocolate-producing dynasties were also established at this time, such as Cadbury's in the UK, or in Switzerland, where Henri Nestlé, who invented the powder milk, and Daniel Peter added milk to chocolate, thus creating the first milk chocolate ever produced. Later, Rodolphe Lind's invention, the chocolate conch, allowed him to mix cocoa butter more evenly with the cocoa powder, resulting in a smoother, fast-melting solid chocolate bar. Everybody wanted chocolate.
Hurry up, Violet!
This way, Grandpa.
And so...
To satisfy the hunger of the masses, they needed to ramp up cocoa cultivation as well.
Hey, Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. I want you to get me an Oompa Loompa right away.
All right, Ruka, all right. I'll get you one before the day's out.
I want an Oompa Loompa now.
Chocolate is a labor-intense crop, and it can only grow near the equator. Back then in the 16th century, they forced slaves from the African continent to work on cacao plantations. Today, the cocoa production itself has been shifted to West Africa. The discovery of a lower quality but more productive form of the cacao bean led to fundamental changes in how chocolate is produced nowadays. By the 20th century, cacao plantations were widely established in Nigeria, Ghana, and Côte d'Ivoire. The majority of the world's cacao beans are now grown in African countries. Unfortunately, the abuses of human rights have remained. Many of the plantations that supply Western companies use slave and child labor. Reports estimate that in 2020, over 1.4 million children under the age of 11 were working on cacao growing plantations. So what can we do about this in Western countries? If you want to encourage the sustainable and fair production of chocolate, pay attention where you buy it from and try to aim for fair trade products. Chocolate has been consumed, admired, and desired for over 3,000 years. Be it dark, milk, white, to the most recent ruby chocolate, we love it. We eat it, drink it, spread it, and sculpt it. You name it. Chocolate is everywhere. Do you like chocolate? How about white chocolate? Let me know if you consider it real chocolate or an abomination from hell. Thanks for watching. In the next episode, we are going to talk about another Mesoamerican treat that millennials cannot live without: the holy testicles of the Aztecs, avocado. Stay tuned.